Hello 12 arts. Let us proceed with our lesson. Last Indian freedom stage of the Indian freedom struggle. We have already discussed about the Linlithgow or August offer and the Cripps mission, both of which had failed. And these failures have compelled Gandhiji to launch the last all India freedom movement, that is the Quit India movement, in the year 1942. Now certain scenarios, because of the failure of the Cripps mission, there had been an atmosphere of frustration. The level of frustration had reached the highest peak, and Gandhiji was ultimately too disturbed for the continuation of the British rule. And besides that, by 1942, Japan had proceeded almost towards the northeastern borders of India, the British Indian soil. So there was a common belief amongst the Indians that if the British left India to the Indians, then the Japanese would stop their attack on the Indian soil. So in the Congress party, there was two sections that believed, one section led by Jawaharlal Nehru and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, who urged the Indian people to cooperate with the British government in order to repel the Japanese attack, whereas Sardar Vallabhbhai and Gandhiji, they thought that the British rule in India should be stopped, should be ended, so that Japan would leave India to the Indians and it would no more proceed its attack over the Indian soil. So this was the scenario, and on 8th August 1942, in the Bombay session of the Indian National Congress, the Quit India resolution was taken. And in the evening, towards the midnight, ultimately the proposal for the Quit India, Gandhiji had said that no more British rule would be continued in India. British, you leave India. And he said, in order to achieve that goal, Indians would go to any extent. He said, "Karenge ya marenge," or gave the slogan, "Do or die." And it so happened that towards the dawn of 9th August 1942, all the important Congress leaders, they were arrested and imprisoned. Now in the morning, when this news spread that the leaders were all arrested, the people, they burst out in protest spontaneously. They took up the leadership of the movement, the Quit India movement, upon themselves, and they proceeded to the Quit India movement, to the programs of the Quit India movement, to follow the programs of the Quit India movement. But as the movement was leaderless, because most of the leaders were all arrested and imprisoned, so the movement was basically leaderless, and so the people who were spontaneous in their protest, they resorted to the violent measures. The train lines were uprooted, the telegraph poles were uprooted, the government offices, the police stations were set to fire. So these violent measures were taken by the common people, and the British government had also taken a very ruthless or cruel measures to suppress this movement. So Quit India movement was basically a failure, because it could not achieve the goal of the British end of the British rule, but it was actually the last blow to the British rule in our India. It once again proved the organizational capacity or power of the Congress party in among the Indian people, and it also paved the way for the end of the British rule. It proved that the Indians were no more satisfied with any kind of constitutional reforms by the British government. They were adamant in achieving their freedom, and to achieve that freedom they would sacrifice anything. They were ready to sacrifice anything. So it was ultimately the British government realized that they could no more keep their hold upon the Indian soil. So the Quit India movement, there were many places the people were violent. There were the Jatiyo Sarkars or the indigenous governments were set up basically in Bengal, in Midnapur. That district was a hot spot for the satyagrahis of Quit India, and we learn about an old lady, 72-year-old lady, Matungini Hajra, who was shot dead while leading the procession to raise the tricolor in the police station at Tamluk. So people everywhere, not only in Bengal but also in Assam, Fukumani was there, and then in Punjab also. Everywhere the people had protested spontaneously, but because the movement was leaderless, there were the local leaders who had taken up the leadership, but they could not guide the people properly. So the Quit India movement was not successful in achieving its goal. So in the northwest frontier, the Gandhi had also taken a very important role, and the Jatiyo Sarkars, I have told that they were set up in all over India, not only in Bengal, all over India. And the students and the young people, they they were the most active participants of this movement. And the Communist Party and the Muslims, they kept themselves aloof from this Quit India movement. The communists did not join. They, however, the workers, they did not listen to the diktat of the Communist Party. They joined spontaneously in Gandhiji's call of Quit India movement. So this was the Quit India movement, and next we will be learning about a great personality of our freedom movement, that is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and the role of INA in the freedom struggle.